Hello, welcome back. I want to thank everyone for your patience. I know I don't upload very much, but I hope that what I do upload helps you feel relaxed when you come across it. Today, I will be reading from the Tolkien Gateway.net article about an elf named Glorfindel. Now, as I always do when I read from Tolkien Gateway.net, I want to make a disclaimer about my pronunciation. Basically, I won't be rolling my R's. I won't be saying Glorfindel. I will instead be saying Glorfindel. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get started. Glorfindel was tall and straight. His hair was of shining gold, his face fair and young, and fearless and full of joy. His eyes were bright and keen, and his voice like music. On his brow sat wisdom, and in his hand was strength. The Fellowship of the Ring, many meetings. Glorfindel was one of the mightiest elves of Middle-earth. During the First Age, he was the lord of the House of the Golden Flower of Gondolin, and died fighting a Balrog. After his re-embodiment, he was allowed to come back to Middle-earth in the Second Age, acting as an emissary of the Valar on a similar mission to the Istari, who were to come several years later. Glorfindel was born in Valinor, sometime during the years of the trees. During the exile of the Noldor, he was of the host of Durgon. Glorfindel himself was reluctant to leave Valinor. Only for his allegiance and kinship with Durgon did he go, and he had no part in the kinslaying of Alqualund. After the return of the Noldor to Middle-earth, Glorfindel's history is obscure. As a great follower of Durgon, he was appointed chief of the House of the Golden Flower, one of the noble houses of Gondolin. He was dearly loved by all of the Gondolindrim. He followed Durgon, who surprisingly came to fight in the Nirnaeth Arnadiad. When the war turned against the alliance, Durgon's and Fingon's forces retreated to the pass of Sirion, with Glorfindel and Ecthelion guarding their flanks. In the year First Age 510, Morgoth attacked the city, and of the deeds of the chieftains of Gondolin during the siege, little is told in the Quenta Silmarillion. But the text explains that much more is told in the Fall of Gondolin. Glorfindel managed to escape the fall of Gondolin with the exiles, and, after crossing Tumladen, they reached the Kirith Thoronath, a narrow pass between the mountains. There, the survivors were attacked by an ambush of orcs led by a Balrog. The eagles came to help them, but Glorfindel fought the Balrog alone upon the pinnacle of a rock. Both died after falling into the abyss, and their duel is sung of by many songs. Thorondor rescued Glorfindel's body, and a cairn was raised which remained there, covered by grass and yellow flowers, until the world changed. Glorfindel's spirit passed to the halls of waiting, where he waited with the spirits of the other Noldor who had died during their war against Morgoth. But because of Glorfindel's noble actions in life, his reluctance at the exile, and his furthering of the purposes of the Valar by saving Duor and Idril, Manwë allowed his re-embodiment after only a short time. Being already an Eldar of great corporal and spiritual stature, in his new incarnated life, his spiritual power was enhanced by his self-sacrifice. He lived in Valinor for many years, in the company of Eldar and Maiar, and these spirits considered him an equal, as he was an incarnate. At some point, he became a follower of Olorin, a Maya with special concern for Middle-earth. Eventually, Manwë sent him across the sea to Middle-earth during the Second Age. He possibly came as early as Second Age 1200, but more likely in Second Age 1600, at the same time as the Blue Wizards. If he arrived in Second Age 1600, he arrived just after the One Ring had been forged, Barad-dûr built, and Celebrimbor dead, or soon to be so. While the Blue Wizards were sent to the east, Glorfindel's mission was to aid Gil-galad and Elrond in the struggle against Sauron. He may have played a prominent behind-the-scenes role in the war in Eriador and the other struggles of the Second Age and Third Age. His part, though great, was mostly overlooked by the histories, because his immense angelic power was not usually displayed openly. Over time, as the few remaining elves of Middle-earth took ship to Aman, or fell one by one, only Galadriel, Celeborn, Elrond, and Círdan were left of the wise. Glorfindel took a more active role, leading the elven forces in the Battle of Fornost. Upon the humiliation of Eärnur before the Witch King, Glorfindel bade him not pursue, and prophesied that the wraith would not fall by the hand of man. Not much can be said about his deeds and role in the events and struggles of the Westlands before the War of the Ring. During the war, he was one of the elves dispatched from Rivendell by Elrond to search for the ring-bearer. Elrond had chosen him partially because Glorfindel did not fear the ring-wraiths, as he had great presence in both the seen and unseen worlds. While on his perilous mission, the ringwraiths avoided him. He met 5 of them, and they fled at his presence. It was Glorfindel, indeed, who accomplished his mission and found the ring-bearer, Frodo Baggins, and his friend, Aragorn, with him. Glorfindel put Frodo on his horse, Osfaloth, and upon the approach of the ring-wraiths ordered him to go on. The white horse bore Frodo to safety across the ford of Bruinen. But Frodo, in a rash act of attempted heroism, turned around at the other side and defied the 9. Glorfindel, expecting the flood that protected Rivendell to come down and smite the riders, revealed his power to the riders and drove them, willingly or not, into the river, where they were swept away by the ensuing flood. Now, you may remember that in Peter Jackson's The Fellowship of the Ring, all of this was done by Arwen, Elrond's daughter. Glorfindel doesn't appear in the movie, though I believe he does appear in the movie The Return of the King. Everything Glorfindel does in the book is given to Arwen to do in the movie. After this adventure, he helped Frodo to Rivendell, where the wounded ring-bearer was tended to. Glorfindel attended the Council of Elrond, playing an active role in the conversation, speaking prophetically of Tom Bombadil and other matters with authority. Elrond and Gandalf as the backbone of the council, laying out clearly their options. At first, Glorfindel suggested that the ring would be safe in the depths of the sea, but the far-sighted Gandalf noted the change of landscapes and the unforeseen possibilities that could bring the ring forth once more in 100 or even 1,000 years in the future. He was briefly considered as a member of the Fellowship of the Ring, but, as his friend Gandalf said, Glorfindel's power would be of little use against the might of Mordor on a mission of secrecy. During the War of the Ring, nothing is said of Glorfindel. Whatever his role, he survived and joined Elrond's company to the wedding of Elessar. After that, no more is said of him. Like Olorin, another name for Gandalf, Glorfindel's task in Middle-earth was done, and the age of the elves was over. He probably passed west, perhaps with the bearers of the 3 rings and the 1 ring. Or he may have remained for a time in Middle-earth to oversee the cleanup after the war. With that, I will stop. There is more to this entry, but it is all about Glorfindel's appearances in books like the Book of Lost Tales. And those books were published after Tolkien died. His son, Christopher, edited a lot of his papers and published them. And a lot of these new stories were early versions of things that would become the Lord of the Rings or the Silmarillion. And a lot of them were just notes about concepts that Tolkien abandoned. So, if you would like for me to read those sections of these TolkienGateway.net articles, please let me know. At the moment, I tend to read only things that are canon. And I hesitated to say that because I know that what is canon in Tolkien's Legendarium is something that there is some debate about. And if you feel that the Silmarillion isn't canon, or that any part of the history of Middle-earth, such as the children of Húrin, should be considered canon, it's perfectly valid, and I would love to hear about it. If you like Tolkien and you have anything to say about Glorfindel, please leave me a comment. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next video.